The views expressed are those of the hosts and others featured in this podcast. They do not necessarily reflect the views of any companies hosting or distributing the recording of this podcast, the management and staffs, or those who advertise their products and services to their audience. So, let's do this, shall we?
This podcast is more or less an open letter to the following entities: Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Cuban. These three entities have the power to do what needs to be done. This covers not only what we need in mainstream media journalism, but mainstream broadcasting in general. Let's first note what has happened within the last 48 hours in broadcasting cable/streaming television. Joy Reid, who had a daily show on MSNBC, just had her show canceled. I believe Joy's last show was last Friday. Now, that firing happened over the weekend. Add to that the fact that Lester Holt, on the day I am taping this, the anchor of the NBC Nightly News, is stepping down at the end of the summer. No replacement for him has been set yet. Now, within a year and a half, the last year and a half, many anchors who most Americans know by sight and sound have either left because, they left their broadcast positions on their own accord, or were basically shown the door by their bosses. In addition to the two people I've mentioned, there's the guy that Holt replaced on NBC, Brian Williams. A few weeks ago, Jim Acosta, CNN, left that network. Over a year ago, Shepard Smith left CNBC. Shep was formerly the main news anchor at Fox News, one of the very few people who actually maintained his journalistic integrity at that propaganda network. Norm Macdonald was replaced as the anchor of the CBS Evening News by a couple of guys who just seem to be the type of people who you can usually find doing weekend anchoring at a station in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Not to mention Ayman Mohyeldin, Katie Fang, and Jonathan Capehart, who all had their shows cut at MS. Now, some of these people are remaining with their current networks, in various positions, but those are 7 well-known professional news anchors/journalists pretty much available with no waiting, or almost no waiting. A person could put together a pretty decent news operation with those people. And that's where the crazy plan I'm thinking about is centered. And that is where you, Jeff and Mark, come into play. That would be you guys and the massive behemoth that is Amazon. What I just mentioned could be the bare bones, the faces of a new news operation. An operation that could either be centered or maybe even leaning to the left. A news operation that can attract some of the best and the brightest with the cash to do that. A news operation that could eventually challenge the MSNBCs, the CNNs, the CBS and ABCs of the world. What I am proposing is a new broadcast and streaming entity. And you don't even have to do a lot of stuff to build it, because the basic framework for that operation exists right now. It exists in terms of broadcasts with stations that are already affiliated with another network. It exists because Amazon has the platform online and streaming to build on. And I am talking about Amazon Prime or whatever is left of Freevee. We even have the branding. I present to you the MGM network. Now, Amazon already owns MGM. The lion, the studio, the name recognition of MGM. Amazon also has contracts with major players in sports and entertainment. For instance, those NFL contracts for Thursday Night Football, they could definitely work on broadcast as well as on Amazon Prime. And in terms of a news broadcast, the people I've already mentioned in this podcast could be the faces of the new MGM News. Not a lot of work needs to go into it, I believe, because as I said, Amazon /Bezos /Cuban combined have the cash to attract on their personalities, on-air personalities, technical people, editors, and staff. I can see you putting this thing together in a year. And in terms of broadcast, there already is a network that you can purchase. And no, I'm not talking about what's left of the CW. In my opinion, Nexstar is running that operation into the ground. I'm talking about that white elephant that Fox owns, called My Network TV. My Network TV was created for stations who used to be affiliates of either UPN or the WB until they were merged into the CW that we all know and love. Nexstar bought it, and now it turns into the CW that most of us become nauseated at the thought. So you now have those stations. But you also have Amazon's online framework that can be a supplement to the MGM broadcast network and allow for, say, more non-network friendly programming, if you know what I mean. Not to mention, if Mr. Bezos has not been totally co-opted by the Seven Mountains cabal, who currently is the puppet master for the 47th president, among others, in my opinion, he still has the Washington Post. Bezos can simply poach reporters from there for the new MGM News. I believe this can work. Not to mention, you don't have to buy the stations, which would probably be in the favor of MGM because you don't own the stations. Which means that 47 and his minions over the FCC can't take licenses away to shut down your network. And running a local TV station is a lot of money, and you need to preserve as much of that money as possible. Now, if you want to own stations, you can wait until the Trump administration is gone, and we can get something more logical installed in the White House. I think it could work. It could put some of the most qualified people, some of the most talented people, and people who are effective ratings grabbers available to an American public that right now is really looking for a trustworthy news service. Imagine the MGM Evening News with, say, Lester Holt, or Shepard Smith, or Brian Williams. You can imagine the promos right now. It's an idea, a wild-eyed one to be certain, but right now we need something. We need level-headed people to go in front of a camera and tell people what is going on accurately and truthfully. And as good as these people are, we need something a little bit more than someone doing a newscast from their man cave or their small apartment or under some desk. The people I've mentioned are national treasures. They should be utilized. Mr. Bezos, Mr. Cuban, you have the resources. As the guy says, get her done, boys. Well, podcasts really sound great when you actually write a script. Anyway, that's it. I'm not going to do a lot because I'm still trying to dig myself out of the many holes that I've gone into. But if you like what I'm doing, a few of you apparently do, why don't you follow me? Follow me on YouTube, Radio Don 1. You can follow me on all the places that are podcasting this. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, a few others. I think we're on iHeart. I don't know. Just search. And when you're there, leave a comment, like or put a star next to it. We really appreciate it. Also, your support is great because bills need to be paid. So if you'd like to help us out along those lines, a $5 or a $10 would be greatly appreciated. All you have to do is go to our PayPal link, which is paypal.me/radiodon, or you can go to our Cash App, which is cash.app/@radiodon. And that's basically it. You can follow me everywhere I am socially by just going to our link tree. That is linktr.ee/radiodon. Hopefully I'll be back later this week with more. But thank you very much if you've made it this far for listening. And we will talk again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.